Hey, it's Don Skaggs again with Empowered Inventing, the one place where we try to help you help other people by taking your great innovation, the right opportunity, mixing that with sound wisdom to turn them into real things like products and businesses. Now, let's just say that you have already built your Frankentype. If you don't know what a Frankentype is, check out our other videos or some of our classes, because we explain exactly what the difference between a Frankentype and a demotype is. But you built your Frankentype. You built your demotype. You've learned that it will sell in your market. You figured that out. You've gotten to those steps. You've been lean about protecting yourself, but you have strategically made the right steps to protect yourself, protect your idea. But now, how are you going to have these made? Sure, you built one. Maybe you built a few. In-house, by yourself. You've made them look cool. You've done the right things, but now you need to learn how these can be made inexpensively so you can have that margin of profit margin, so to give you the ability to make more of them and grow and help people and help yourself and build your legacy and build a business. So how do you do that? How do you learn to do that? Well, the first thing is by finding how these components and these products, or components of these products, are made. And one thing I suggest for a lot of people to do is to totally immerse yourself in your component manufacturing industry. Now let me tell you some examples of this, of some businesses and some startups I've been working with lately. There's one startup actually, the one who I get to use this wonderful backdrop for is Bennett Gatto. He's got a company called Active Therapy Systems, and part of his product required a certain type of foam, like a foam like you'd see in a foam cushion, except a specialized foam, a foam that would do a certain thing. So, I started making calls and helping them out, and sooner or later we found a company that made certain kinds of foam for a different industry. And guess what? They were all about foam. They knew all the ins and outs. They knew about force absorption and just all of these different things. But we found what he needed. I've seen the same thing with a company I work with that does industrial controls, and I've learned more about the aerospace market in the last year than I've ever learned in my life. And by the way, it's a pretty cool market. It's a pretty cool industry to be around. Aerospace, which by the way, here in Kentucky is we're like one of the leading states in aerospace. Who knew? So anyway, not to get off the track too much here, totally immerse yourself, whatever component that is. Maybe it's not specifically related to the industry you're going to sell in, but it's where the bulk of this essential component of what you're going to make. Get in that, get immersed in that, understand what stuff is, what stuff sells for. All these companies have spent millions on how to efficiently make their stuff, how it works, its properties, and you can stand on their shoulders. Don't reinvent the wheel, and don't spend money to reinvent the wheel on this kind of stuff. So connect with these people and cultivate relationships. Now that is a real secret sauce thing there, because if you can cultivate relationships of other people in other industries that are making essential components for what you're doing, then it can be a game changer, because you will learn some fantastic information, some very valuable stuff. It's wisdom here. It's finding those gold bricks on the gold bars on the street by picking up this wisdom, by cultivating these relationships. Now, let's talk about scalable manufacturing prep, because this is an important step in our Idea Steps program, and it's a very important step for inventors to get to that marketplace, because it's better to be, well, first off, let me say this, it is better to be easily make. It's better to be able to easily make either 10, where you can make 10, you can make 100, you can make 1,000, you can make 5,000, you could make 10,000, you could make 100,000. But you've got to figure out how to do that. You've got to figure out, how can I scale this? I love scalable products. I do not like these products where, oh, we have to make 10,000 because we have to build a special mold. Now, there's a lot of things in the industry where people are getting around that. I'm a big fan of finding what's called COTS, components off the shelf, that will make it work, especially in the beginning. You know, before you get into those numbers where you need that kind of volume in order to bear the cost of buying molds and things like that. Of course, 3D printing is a big thing, although that can be costly. And you've got to 3D print well enough to where it looks like a finished product. If you're going to actually do small runs of this, and again, you're scaling. You're just selling. You're having a few. You're selling a few, maybe testing a market. So when you're testing these early markets, you don't want to make the mistake of making a whole bunch of something and then finding out you need to change something. And if you spend $10,000 on a mold, guess what? That's an expensive mistake. You want to avoid those kind. So making it scalable is better. Even if I had to change the type of invention I had to get started, to get the ROI started, to reach that lower hanging fruit, to get kind of up there as far as getting my business or getting my my product started, I would find something scalable first if I could. So anyway, now it's going to cost more when you're making smaller numbers, smaller lots, and you'll have less profits. But you have to remember this: in these small quantities, you will cheaply learn this valuable information. What I was just talking about of are they going to sell like this? Do I need to change something? And it's going to ultimately save you thousands. But then it's going to give you that valuable information where you can sell things in the thousands or millions, because now it's a whole nother iteration of refining when you're getting them out there in those small lots. But there has to be scalable manufacturing to do that. Now, another thing is look for ways to make your product look cool. Yeah, you have to do this. And you know, the engineers and inventors and people that kind of fall in love with the concept of what they've got, sometimes we get a little myopic with what things look like and how they present to other people. Now, you've got to make it look cool. Now, what I mean by cool is it's got to look like it fits where it's going to live. Now, let me give you a good example of this. I've got a little prop over here. So right here, I've got a product that's being developed right now, and it's really cool. Functions fantastic, and except it's going to go in someone's home. Now, if it goes into someone's home and it looks like this, it doesn't look like it fits. But now this, if you put it in a form factor like this looks like it would sit on somebody's coffee table. Now, I don't want to get too much into the details into what this is, but let me just say this. If you have this sitting on the coffee table or you have this sitting on the coffee table, which one's going to sell? Which one's going to look cool? Which one looks like it belongs on a coffee table? Well, it's this one, of course. So, sure, get all the technical stuff down, but then you've got to figure out ways to make it look cool. And you can do that with COTS. You can do that with a component. This right here is a component off the shelf, something that's used for a completely different industry that we found that will work, and it'll actually work with this, believe it or not. So it actually does that. So COTS just don't have to be for prototyping. That's what I'm saying. They can actually be for finished products. They can be for short runs or even big runs for manufactured products. So this is great. This is functionality. This is where it's got to look cool and where it's really going to sell. So let me put these away. So anyway, so you can find things like that are already cooked. And they've got this what's called industrial design. And industrial design, you know, you've got the engineering part, you've got the prototyping part. Industrial design is where it looks cool, where it looks good. Apple is a really, really good. That's why their stuff looks what they call cool. It looks like it belongs. It looks like something you'd like to have. So, and there's a lot of these things that are already cooked in other industries. Where in one place where you can make it yours, just like that example I showed you. Now, if you don't know how you're going to make it in quantity, you're not going to be able to, you're going to hit a wall when you start to sell these things. You know, it'd be a really, really sad thing if you came up with something really great and you were able to make 100 and you sold out just almost immediately and you did great, and then and you were ready, and there was the demand was there to sell thousands, and you weren't able to do that because you hadn't figured out in advance how to do that. So learn how to design your product for manufacturing. If you want more resources, we have more resources, classes and consulting on empoweredinventing.com. You can always check that out. If this video helped you, please be sure and share it, like, subscribe, and I will look to see you at the next meeting, workshop, maybe one of our online classes, or on the next video.